Ole Miss has a top-tier quarterback and sits high in the playoff rankings, and that's no coincidence. Teams with elite signal callers and resilient defenses dominate in both college and pro football. That's exactly why Shedeur Sanders' trajectory with the Browns is gaining serious attention. He's not just showing NFL potential, he's proving it now with insiders saying he's outclassing higher-drafted peers. Like Ole Miss, Cleveland is beginning to understand that winning starts under center, and they may already have their answer in Sanders.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Cleveland's front office appears to be acting on what the film and insiders are making clear. Shedeur's performance and poise warrant commitment. As the team strengthens its lines and weapons through smart acquisitions, the focus is shifting from uncertainty to alignment. The Browns aren't just evaluating a quarterback anymore, they're building around one. The conversation around Shedeur Sanders has shifted, and it's not subtle. This isn't speculative hype or wishful thinking from fans looking for hope. This is coming from people inside the building. Browns insiders are now openly saying that Shedeur Sanders has positioned himself as a legitimate frontrunner to be the starting quarterback going into next season. That matters because this organization doesn't hand out praise lightly, especially at the most scrutinized position in football. What stands out most is how consistent the messaging has become. The same words keep showing up: preparation, command, effort, and production. Sanders didn't walk into a perfect situation. He wasn't surrounded by elite weapons and he wasn't protected by a dominant offensive line. Yet the evaluation coming from inside the Browns points to the same conclusion. When he's been given opportunities, he's delivered. Quietly, efficiently, and without excuses. This is where the tone changes. Early on, Sanders was viewed as part of a larger quarterback experiment. Another name in a long list of arms being evaluated. That perception no longer holds. Insiders are now framing him as the standard others are being measured against, not the other way around. The Browns' quarterback situation has been defined by constant evaluation. Draft picks, roster competition, and short-term solutions have been routine. This front office has consistently brought in talent, tested it in real game conditions, and moved on quickly when results didn't match expectations. That context matters when evaluating what's happening now with Sanders. What's different this time is the pattern. Sanders hasn't needed extended stretches or perfect circumstances to make his case. In limited play, he's shown poise, accuracy, and control of the offense. That's what insiders are responding to. Not flashy numbers, not viral moments, but repeatable execution against real competition. Draft positioning also plays a role here. The Browns are evaluating the upcoming quarterback class, but internal belief matters just as much as external options. The message coming out suggests that Sanders has already checked boxes that teams usually hope a rookie might eventually reach. That changes how aggressive a team needs to be in the draft and how it allocates resources moving forward. When Kevin Stefansky talks about quarterbacks, he tends to be measured. He focuses on process, preparation, and decision-making rather than hype. That's why his approach to Sanders has been telling. There's been a noticeable emphasis on trust. Trust in the huddle, trust at the line of scrimmage, and trust in game situations. Stefansky's system demands precision. It asks quarterbacks to diagnose defenses quickly and protect the football. According to internal evaluations, Sanders has shown that he understands those demands. He's not forcing plays that aren't there, and he's operating within structure while still making plays when needed. That matters because coaching staffs don't shape their systems around potential alone. They adapt when a quarterback shows he can run what's already in place. The growing confidence from the coaching side suggests Sanders isn't being viewed as a project. He's being viewed as someone who can manage games now and grow within the system over time. Sanders himself hasn't leaned into the noise. In press settings, his focus stays consistent. He talks about preparation, accountability, and staying ready. There's no public frustration about support around him and no deflection when challenges are brought up. That approach has resonated internally. Quarterbacks are evaluated beyond throws. They're evaluated on how they handle pressure, competition, and uncertainty. Sanders' responses reflect someone who understands that nothing is promised. That mindset aligns with what insiders are saying about his work ethic behind the scenes. What stands out is that his public messaging matches the internal reports. There's no disconnect. The same player who prepares during the week is the one answering questions after games. For a franchise that values stability, that alignment carries weight. Game situations reveal truths that practice cannot. Against physical opponents like the Steelers, quarterbacks are tested mentally and physically. Decision-making speeds up. Windows tighten. Mistakes are punished. In those moments, Sanders has shown composure. He hasn't been perfect, and that's not the expectation. What evaluators are focused on is how he responds. He doesn't unravel after pressure. He doesn't abandon reads. Those traits matter when projecting a quarterback into a full-time starting role. Insiders have pointed to these moments as evidence that Sanders can handle divisional football. That's a significant benchmark. Success in these environments often separates depth options from legitimate starters. The discussion then shifts to Colorado, where Coach Prime is facing a different but related challenge. Rebuilding a college football program in today's landscape requires speed and strategy. The transfer portal isn't optional. It's essential. Colorado's needs are clear. The focus has to be on the offensive and defensive lines. Stopping the run has been a major issue, and past performance has shown how costly that weakness can be. Allowing excessive yardage puts pressure on every other unit. Coach Prime's approach emphasizes bringing in players who can contribute immediately. That includes experienced linemen who understand physical football. The portal allows for that kind of targeted improvement, especially when recruiting alone isn't fast enough. Looking across the college football landscape provides context. Teams at the top consistently have elite quarterback play paired with strong line performance. Ole Miss stands out as an example. Their success highlights how impactful a top-tier quarterback can be when supported properly. Playoff rankings reinforce this point. Teams with stability under center and competent defenses rise. Those without balance struggle to keep pace. This is the model Colorado is trying to move toward, and it explains why personnel decisions are being prioritized the way they are. The broader takeaway is clear. Whether at the NFL or college level, quarterback success is tied to infrastructure. Sanders' rise in Cleveland and Colorado's rebuild under Coach Prime both point to the same principle. Talent thrives when organizations commit to surrounding it with the right pieces. That's where things stand. Shedeur Sanders has earned real confidence from inside the Browns organization. Colorado is actively reshaping its roster with urgency. Both stories are unfolding in real time, and both hinge on preparation, evaluation, and smart team building. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like the video, share it with other football fans, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more coverage like this. The hype isn't coming from nowhere. Shedeur Sanders has been under a microscope since stepping into the NFL, and every single rep has been watched, dissected, and rewatched. But now, that same scrutiny is working in his favor. It's not just that he's shown flashes, it's the consistency. Week after week, day after day, he's giving coaches zero reasons to doubt him. That's what makes the current chatter different from the typical off-season noise. The praise isn't just about potential anymore, it's about what's already been put on tape. His timing on throws, the way he keeps plays alive without forcing them, and how he commands the huddle all point to someone who's ready to take over. Not in 2 years. No. For the Browns, this is massive. It's one thing to hope a young quarterback pans out. It's another when the people evaluating him are confident enough to say he's the leader in the room. They're watching him take command without even being handed the full keys yet. And everyone is noticing. The Browns have tried everything at quarterback. Draft picks, free agents, trades, rotations. 4 years it's been the same cycle. Hope, disappointment, repeat. But now, for the first time in a while, there's a sense of quiet stability beginning to settle in, and it's directly tied to Sanders. In past seasons, poor quarterback play forced the coaching staff into damage control mode. Games were lost not because of the defense or special teams, but because they didn't have a guy under center who could keep things steady. Even worse, there was never a true plan. Just a revolving door. But this season, the team's approach feels more measured. They're not scrambling for solutions. They're watching what they already have. And what they see is a player who not only fits what they're trying to do, but elevates it. That's why insiders are pushing this narrative. They're seeing the patterns shift in real time. And let's be honest, when you've lived through quarterback chaos, even a small dose of calm looks like salvation. Sanders has brought that calm, and the tape backs it up. He hasn't handed out a starter label yet, but it's what he isn't saying that's just as important as what he is. He hasn't been pressed into announcing anything because he doesn't need to. Everyone internally knows who's trending toward QB1, and it's Sanders. Coaches talk about earning the locker room, and Sanders is doing exactly that. Stefansky has praised his film study, his habits, and most of all, his resilience. That's no small thing. Stefansky's offensive scheme isn't something you learn overnight. It takes discipline and most of all, the ability to adapt without panicking. By all accounts, Sanders has embraced the complexity. He's not overwhelmed. If anything, he's leaning into it, using the structure to show what he can do. And that gives the coaching staff the flexibility they've lacked in recent years. When you trust your quarterback to execute the system, you're not limited in what you can call. That freedom opens up the entire playbook. That kind of relationship between a coach and his quarterback isn't just a nice bonus, it's what sets the foundation for winning. In front of the media, Shedeur hasn't slipped up once. No arrogant predictions. No dramatic sound bites. He's kept the message focused, put in the work, trust the process, earn the spot. That may sound cliché, but when the pressure is high and every camera is rolling, consistency matters. Reporters have tried to bait him into commenting on the Browns' past failures at quarterback or comparing himself to veterans. He's avoided it every time. The narrative he's pushing is about accountability. And for a young player, that's rare. His press conferences reveal a guy who understands not just football, but how the league works. You don't get handed leadership in the NFL. You earn it through how you show up, how you practice, and how you speak when people are watching. Sanders has done all three. The respect from teammates isn't just about what he does on the field. It's how he carries himself off it. And when insiders start echoing those same sentiments publicly, it's because they know the leadership is real, not rehearsed. The Steelers' defense doesn't do favors. It's aggressive, physical, and constantly shifting. In that environment, quarterbacks either survive or sink. When Sanders saw time against Pittsburgh, he wasn't perfect, but he wasn't rattled either. There were moments where the pressure was in his face and he stayed composed. He went through reads, avoided panic throws, and delivered the ball where it needed to be. That kind of poise against a blitz-heavy defense tells you everything you need to know about how he processes the game. Coaches don't forget those kinds of games. It's one thing to light up practice or preseason snaps. It's another to make smart decisions against a defense built to confuse and punish you. That performance stuck with people inside the building. It was a glimpse of what could be when he's given more responsibility. And it proved that Sanders isn't just surviving NFL speed. He's adjusting to it in real time. Back in Colorado, Coach Prime is working with a different kind of urgency. His team is still being built from the ground up and he knows it starts in the trenches. The numbers from last season don't lie. Colorado struggled to stop the run and couldn't protect the quarterback. That's a lethal combo in a conference with physical football. Coach Prime's message is blunt. They need dogs on the offensive and defensive lines. He's not interested in just filling out a roster. He wants players who can step in, win matchups, and change the tone of the game. That's where the transfer portal comes in. The portal has become Colorado's lifeline. It allows them to bypass the usual rebuild timeline and bring in college-ready talent who've played meaningful snaps elsewhere. This isn't about stacking stars, it's about plugging gaps with players who can hold the line literally. Every serious college football fan knows the name at Ole Miss right now. Their quarterback is one of the best in the country, and his play is why the team keeps showing up in playoff conversations. It's not just raw skill, it's control, accuracy, and command. Sound familiar? That's the benchmark Colorado is chasing. Not just a flashy quarterback who makes highlight reels, but someone who can win big games with discipline. And to make that work, you need the right pieces around him. Ole Miss has built their roster to complement their signal caller, giving him protection, weapons, and a defense that doesn't collapse late. Coach Prime sees that model. He knows it's what Colorado needs if they want to compete with the big programs. The offensive and defensive lines can't be liabilities. If they can build a balanced team around a quarterback like Sanders once was for them, that's when the program shifts. Quarterbacks can elevate a team, but only when the foundation is. What's keeping Shedeur Sanders in the conversation isn't luck or a hot streak, it's work. And the people closest to him say that hasn't changed, not even a little. Whether it's mid-season or off-season, walkthroughs or padded reps, the intensity stays the same. That's how he's closed the gap between being a developmental project and a starting caliber quarterback. Teammates notice. Coaches notice. Even position coaches who aren't directly involved with quarterbacks have started vouching for his readiness. That kind of cross-departmental respect doesn't happen unless a player is proving it every single day. There's a difference between someone who wants the spotlight and someone who's ready for the responsibility that comes with it. Sanders is clearly the latter. And for Cleveland, that's exactly what they've been missing. The leadership vacuum at quarterback has been glaring for years. Guys have cycled in and out, but no one's stuck. Now there's someone in the building who isn't asking for the crown, he's earning it quietly with film and reps. Looking back at the Browns' recent seasons, the quarterback rotation was as unstable as it gets. Injuries, inconsistency, locker room drama, it's all been part of the story. And each time a new name was brought in, fans were told to stay patient, that this might finally be the one. But it never stuck. So when the noise around Shedeur Sanders began, most people rolled their eyes. Another young guy with potential. Another off-season headline. But then the reps started to stack. The tape started to show something different. And the staff stopped speaking in hypotheticals. That's when the shift became real. Browns insiders, usually tight-lipped, began emphasizing how much progress had been made, not just in skill but in understanding the game. That's why this isn't just another media cycle. It's an actual movement towards stability, and it's built around someone who's answering the call. For fans, the difference is clear. They're not being told to believe blindly. They're watching the player prove it. He has been burned by quarterback situations before. So the fact that he's not dodging questions about Sanders, or downplaying his progress, is significant. Stefansky knows how narratives can spiral out of control. If he didn't believe what was being said, he'd shut it down. But instead, he's offered praise. Not overly flashy or premature but real. He's noted Sanders' growth, his ability to command the huddle, and how his reads are getting faster. That's coming from a coach whose offense doesn't work unless the quarterback is in control. Stefansky also knows the team can't afford another season of instability at quarterback. They've built too much on defense, invested too much in offensive pieces to waste it on uncertainty under center. So when he leans into Sanders' name during interviews, it's not just coach speak. It's calculated. It's part of preparing the locker room, the staff, and the fans for what's coming. Every time Sanders steps in front of the mic, he keeps things grounded. There's no sense that he's buying into the hype or feeding into it. He talks about competition, about staying ready, and about proving himself. That message hasn't changed whether he's starting, backing up, or in a rotation. That consistency matters. Because when a player's role is evolving, especially at quarterback, every word becomes a headline. But Sanders has kept it steady, deflecting praise and putting the spotlight back on the team. That's not accidental. That's someone who understands leadership at the pro level. Reporters have tried to get him to comment on the Browns' QB situation more directly, but he hasn't taken the bait. Instead, he emphasizes film study, getting better every day and learning the offense inside and out. That restraint is a message in itself. He doesn't need to sell himself in interviews, his play is doing the... It's one thing to perform in a clean pocket or against soft zone coverage. It's another to make smart reads when TJ Watt is bearing down. That's exactly what Sanders did against the Steelers. He didn't just survive the pressure. He stayed poised, made the right reads and adjusted protections when needed. That performance stood out not because of flashy stats, but because of how steady he was. The Steelers are known for disguising coverages and throwing off young quarterbacks. Sanders handled it. He took what the defense gave him, didn't force the issue, and avoided critical mistakes. For a franchise that's lost too many games due to quarterback errors, that kind of discipline is priceless. He didn't try to be a hero. He tried to win the game the right way. And that's what evaluators keep pointing to. He's not trying to outplay expectations, he's trying to meet the standard. In Colorado, Coach Prime is going through his own version of roster triage. He's already been vocal about what's lacking, and he's not mincing words. The trenches are weak and it's holding everything else back. Skill positions get attention, but games are being lost at the line of scrimmage. That's why the transfer portal has become his main tool. Prime isn't waiting on development cycles or long-term projects. He's looking for plug-and-play linemen with size, experience, and toughness. The goal isn't just improvement, it's transformation. There's urgency behind every move. Because Prime knows the window to flip a program is short. Expectations are high and patience is thin. He's seen what happens when you don't fix the foundation. No quarterback can save you if he's getting hit every play. No defense can hold if the run game is bleeding yards. That's why every move being made is calculated. Colorado doesn't just want to be better. They want to be competitive now. The college football playoff picture always comes back to quarterbacks. Teams like Ole Miss know that better than anyone. Their guy isn't just talented, he's controlled, efficient, and surrounded by the right personnel. That combination is deadly in a playoff chase. Ole Miss has built their offense around protecting their quarterback and letting him operate. That means a solid O-line, reliable receivers, and a defense that doesn't force shootouts every game. It's a complete system and it works because every piece fits the others. That's the model Colorado is trying to emulate. Prime doesn't just want to stockpile talent, he wants alignment. He He wants a quarterback who doesn't have to play perfect every week to win. And that only happens when the rest of the team is built the right way. Programs that make deep playoff runs don't lean on miracles. They lean on structure. Ole Miss has that structure. Colorado is building it. If you've made it this far, you already know there's more going on here than just stats and highlights. This is about smart football decisions, bold roster moves, and players proving themselves the right way. If you're into this kind of breakdown, go ahead and drop a like, share the video with a friend who's following the Browns or Colorado, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.